The lights flickered 3 times in Mrs. Caldwell's classroom before going out completely. 12-year-old Zach Miller looked up from his science project, a model of the solar system that hung from the ceiling with fishing line. The room went dark except for the glow of emergency lights by the door. "Just a power outage," Mrs. Caldwell said calmly. "Everyone stay in your seats." But Zach knew this was different. The air felt strange, like before a storm, but worse. His skin tingled. Next to him, Olivia Garcia dropped her pencil. It rolled across the floor, but instead of stopping, it began to float. "Look," Olivia whispered, pointing at the pencil hovering 6 inches above the ground. Before anyone could react, a low humming filled the room. It started soft but grew until Zach had to cover his ears. Through the windows, bright blue light poured in, washing over the faces of his classmates. Mrs. Caldwell moved toward the door, but it wouldn't open. "Stay together, children," she called, but her voice sounded far away under the humming. The light got brighter. Kyle West stood frozen by the fish tank, his eyes wide with fear. The class hamster, Whiskers, ran in circles in his cage. The clock on the wall stopped at 4:17 p.m. "What's happening?" someone cried. The floor shook. Papers flew off desks. The model planets broke free from their fishing lines and floated upward. Zach reached for his backpack, but it slipped through his fingers as gravity seemed to change. Then Zach's feet left the ground. He grabbed for his desk but missed. All around him, children floated upward, some crying, some too shocked to make a sound. Mrs. Caldwell tried to grab as many hands as she could, but she too began to rise. "Hold on to each other," she shouted. Zach felt a hand grasp his. It was Olivia, her dark hair floating around her face like she was underwater. He held tight as they drifted toward the ceiling. The roof of the classroom simply wasn't there anymore. Where there should have been ceiling tiles and lights, there was only open space in that strange blue glow. Zach and his classmates floated up through the gap, out into the evening air, and continued rising. Below them, Pinewood Elementary grew smaller. Zach could see the playground, the parking lot, the flagpole. Then he could see all of Oak Ridge, the streets and houses spreading out like a map. They rose faster now, the wind whipping past them. "Don't let go," he told Olivia, squeezing her hand harder. Above them loomed a massive shape, dark against the fading sky. It was bigger than anything Zach had ever seen, bigger than the school, bigger than the mall, maybe as big as all of Oak Ridge. The shape had no hard edges. It curved and flowed like water frozen in time. As they drew closer, Zach saw that the surface wasn't solid, but moved like oil on water, reflecting blues and purples and colors he couldn't name. They passed through an opening in the bottom of the enormous ship, and suddenly they were inside a vast space filled with the same blue light. The humming stopped. Zach and the others floated gently down onto a smooth floor that felt slightly soft, like walking on gym mats. Mrs. Caldwell did a quick count. "All 37 of you are here," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "Stay together." The walls around them were curved and smooth with no visible doors or windows. The blue light seemed to come from the walls themselves. The air smelled clean but strange, like nothing Zach had ever smelled before. A section of the wall rippled and 3 figures entered. They were tall, at least 7 feet, with 4 arms each. Their skin was pale gray and seemed to shimmer slightly, like fish scales. They had no hair and their faces were mostly smooth except for 2 large black eyes that wrapped partway around their heads, giving them a wide field of vision. Where a nose and mouth should be, they had only a small slit that pulsed as they breathed. The children huddled together. Some of the younger ones cried quietly. Zach stood at the edge of the group trying to look brave, though his heart hammered in his chest. One of the aliens approached, moving with a strange flowing motion as if its legs had extra joints. It held up a device that looked like a clear tablet. The device projected images of Earth, then zoomed in to show Oak Ridge, then Pinewood Elementary. Mrs. Caldwell stepped forward. "We are from Earth. Why have you taken us?" The alien tilted its head, studying them. It made a series of clicks and whistles. The device in its hand flashed, and then words appeared in the air. "Young specimens. Ideal for study. No harm intended." We are not specimens, Mrs. Caldwell said firmly. We are human beings. You must return us to our home. More clicks and whistles. The floating words changed. Temporary collection, data, behavior, biology. Return later. No, Mrs. Caldwell insisted. Return us now. Our people will be looking for us. The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. Primitive species. No space travel capability beyond Moon. Cannot follow. With that, the three aliens turned and moved toward the rippling wall. Before leaving, one turned back, and the device projected new words. Comfort provided. Cooperation appreciated. Then, they were gone. As soon as they left, Kyle West ran to the wall and pounded on it. "Let us out," he shouted. But the wall just rippled slightly under his fists. Zach looked around the room. Besides the smooth floor and walls, there were several raised platforms that looked like beds. In one corner, containers appeared, holding what looked like food and water. Olivia tugged on his sleeve. "Zach, my ID card is beeping." Every student at Pinewood had an ID card on a lanyard. The school had given them out last year, saying they were for cafeteria purchases and library books. Olivia's card had a tiny light on it that was flashing. Kyle came over, looking at his own card. "Mine too." Zach checked his card. The small light was flashing in a pattern. 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. He recognized it immediately from Scout Camp, SOS. "Don't let the aliens see," he whispered to the others. I think these aren't just school IDs." Mrs. Caldwell gathered the children. "We need to stay calm and work together. Whatever these creatures want, we'll face it together." As night fell over Oak Ridge, parents began calling the school when their children didn't come home. Police arrived to find an empty classroom, scattered school supplies, and no sign of violence. Security cameras showed only static. The power had failed in just that one room at exactly 4:17 p.m. By morning, the FBI had arrived. Agent Alan Parker walked through the classroom, noting the strange readings on his equipment. His phone rang. "Sir, we have reports of similar incidents in London, Tokyo, and Sydney. All school children, all disappeared without a trace." Parker looked out the window at the morning sky. "Get me the Pentagon. Now." Deep beneath a mountain in Colorado, in a facility that officially didn't exist, Admiral Susan Rogers stared at a screen showing a massive object leaving Earth's atmosphere. The tracking system had picked it up despite its advanced cloaking technology. "They think we can't follow," she said quietly. "They're wrong." Behind her, technicians prepared the fleet that humanity had built in secret since First Contact 15 years ago. Ships with technology that would shock even the most advanced alien civilizations. "Alert all crews," Rogers ordered. "Operation Shepherd is now active. We're bringing our children home." Admiral Susan Rogers walked through the hidden hangar deep beneath the Colorado mountains. Above her, massive ships hung in perfect silence. They looked nothing like the clunky rockets the public thought represented the height of human space. Technology. These vessels were sleek, dark, and deadly. "Status report," she said to the officer walking beside her. "The Nighthawk is ready for immediate launch," said Lieutenant Commander Greg Nelson. He was young for his rank but brilliant with the tracking systems. 5 support vessels will follow. We've identified the alien craft as Vrak's design. Rogers nodded. For 15 years, humanity had hidden its true capabilities from the rest of the galaxy. After first contact with the Tellurian Alliance, Earth's leaders had made a choice. They would appear harmless, even backward, while secretly building a fleet that could stand against any threat. "The Vraks are collectors," Rogers said. "They gather specimens from across the galaxy for study and sale." "Yes, ma'am. But they've never taken humans before." "They've never taken our children before," Rogers corrected. "And they never will again." They reached the command center where dozens of officers worked at glowing screens. A large display showed the path of the alien ship moving away from Earth. "What do we know about the children?" Rogers asked. A woman stepped forward. 37, children ages 10 to 12 plus 1 teacher. all from Pinewood Elementary in Oak Ridge. The emergency beacons in their ID cards activated 6 hours ago. Few people knew that every school ID issued in the last decade contained advanced tracking technology. The public thought they were simple cards for lunch payments and library books. In reality, they were part of Earth's hidden defense network. The Vrax ship is heading toward their main research facility in the Cygnus Arm, Nelson said. Approximately 80 light-years away. Can we intercept before they reach it? Yes, ma'am. The Nighthawk can overtake them in 36 hours. Rogers looked around the room at the men and women who had trained for years, hoping this day would never come. Activate. Operation Shepherd, she ordered. Captain Hayes? Laurel Hayes stepped forward. She wore the simple black uniform of the Shadow Fleet, with only small silver stars on her collar showing her rank. At 42, she had been one of the first pilots to fly the new ships. The Nighthawk is yours, Rogers said. Bring our children home. Yes, Admiral, Hayes replied. What are my engagement parameters? Rescue the children with minimal casualties, but make it clear to the Vrax what happens when they cross us. Hayes nodded and moved toward the exit. And Captain, Rogers called after her. The galaxy still doesn't know what we're capable of. Let's keep it that way as long as we can. Within the hour, the Nighthawk rose from its hidden mountain base. To any watching satellites, it would appear as nothing more than a slight heat distortion in the air. 6 miles long and shaped like a manta ray, it was the most advanced warship ever built by human hands. On the bridge, Captain Hayes settled into her command chair. Around her, the crew worked in practiced silence, their faces lit by the blue glow of their stations. All systems ready, Captain, reported First Officer Linda Reeves. Prepare for jump to FTL, Hayes ordered, the massive engines powered up with barely a hum. Unlike the rockets seen on TV, these engines used technology reverse-engineered from gifts provided by the Tellurians, then improved upon by Earth scientists working in secret. The Tellurians think they gave us basic space travel technology, Hayes said quietly to Reeves. They have no idea what we've done with it. That was their mistake, Reeves replied. Underestimating humans is never wise. The view screen showed Earth falling away beneath them as they rose through the atmosphere. In seconds, they passed the Moon, then Mars. At the edge of the solar system, Hayes gave the order. Jump. The stars stretched into lines, then vanished as the Nighthawk entered faster than light travel. The ship's AI calculated the Vrax vessel's course, accounting for its speed and likely stops. In the briefing room, Hayes addressed the rescue team, led by Commander Rick Patterson. 20 men and women in black combat suits listened intently. Our mission is clear, Hayes said. We find the Vrax ship, disable it, board it, and extract our people. The children are the priority. What about the Vrax? Patterson asked. Minimal casualties. We need to send a message, not start a war. Not yet, anyway. On the Vrax vessel specimen collector, the children had been placed in a large, circular room. The walls glowed with soft blue light, and the floor was covered with soft mats. Food and water had been provided, though few of the children trusted it enough to eat. Mrs. Caldwell had organized them into groups, trying to maintain a sense of routine and calm. But after 24 hours in captivity, fear and homesickness were setting in. Zach sat with Olivia and Kyle, examining their ID cards. The lights are still blinking, he whispered. SOS, over and over. Who would even see it? Kyle asked. We're in space. Someone must be looking, Olivia said. Why else would our cards have emergency signals? The wall rippled and 3 Vrax entered. The children fell silent, watching the tall gray aliens move around the room. One carried the translator device. Specimens adapting well, the floating words read. We'll begin basic tests today. We are not specimens, Mrs. Caldwell said firmly. We are citizens of Earth and we demand to be returned. The Vrax made its laughing sound again. Earth has no means to follow, no means to demand. Tests will proceed. One of the aliens approached a young girl named Beth. She backed away, frightened. Don't touch her, Zach said, stepping forward. The Vrax turned its large black eyes toward him. Protective behavior. Interesting. Leader of young. We look after each other, Zach said. All of us. The alien's head tilted, studying him. The translator displayed unusual species, strong social bonds, valuable data. The aliens left, but returned every few hours to observe and take readings with handheld devices. They never forced the children to comply, but their presence was enough to keep everyone on edge. That night, as the children tried to sleep on the soft mats, Zach kept thinking about the blinking ID cards. Someone had put those signals there, for a reason. Someone knew this might happen. "Do you think anyone's really coming?" Olivia whispered beside him. Zach thought about it. "Yes," he finally said. "I do." Across the vastness of space, the Nighthawk hurtled toward the Vrax vessel at speeds the aliens believed impossible for humans to achieve. On the bridge, Captain Hayes received the signal update. "Children's beacons still active," Nelson reported. "Signal strength growing. We're gaining on them." Hayes nodded. "Time to intercept?" 12 hours, Captain." "Good." Hayes turned to Reeves. "Prepare the fighters. I want them ready to launch the moment we drop out of FTL." As the Nighthawk closed the distance, Hayes stood at the viewport, looking out at the streaking stars. "They think Earth is defenseless beyond our solar system," she said quietly. "Let's show them how wrong they are." The Vrax scientist Vikalara moved through the specimen chamber, watching the human children with great interest. Unlike other species they had collected, these young humans showed complex social behaviors. They formed groups, created leaders, and protected their weaker members. Most fascinating of all, they did not break down mentally despite being far from their home world. Vikalara approached the one called Zach, who always seemed to place himself between the Vrax and the other children. The boy met her gaze without fear. Most specimens avoided eye contact with their collectors. "You are not afraid," Vikalara said through the translator. "I am afraid," Zach replied. "But being afraid doesn't mean I'll let you hurt my friends." The translator struggled with the concept, finally displaying courage despite fear. Unusual trait. Vikalara made notes on her device. The consortium would pay extremely well for these specimens. Humans were new members of the galactic community, and their biology was not well studied. The children would provide valuable data. India. Another part of the ship, the Vrax captain received a report from the sensor operator. "Energy distortion detected at long range," the sensor operator reported through a series of clicks and whistles. "Pattern unknown." The captain dismissed the concern. "Deep space phenomenon. Continue course to research base." The sensor operator was not convinced. "Pattern is regular. Possible propulsion signature." "Impossible," the captain replied. "This sector has no spacefaring species with advanced drives. The humans can barely reach their own moon." Back in the specimen chamber, Kyle had been watching the Vrax closely. When Vikalara left, he gathered Zach, Olivia, and Mrs. Caldwell. "I've been counting," he whispered. "There are only 12 of them on this ship, and they don't carry weapons." "How do you know that?" Olivia asked. "My dad works in security. He taught me to count guards and look for weapons." Kyle pointed to his eyes. "Always be aware of your surroundings," he says. Mrs. Caldwell looked troubled. "Even if there are only 12, we can't overpower them. They're much stronger than we are." "We don't need to fight them," Zach said. "We just need to be ready when help comes." "If help comes," one of the older children said. Zach held up his ID card, still blinking its SOS pattern. "Help is coming, I'm sure of it." On the bridge of the Nighthawk, Captain Hayes watched the tactical display as her ship closed in on the Vrax vessel. They had dropped out of FTL speed at a safe distance to avoid immediate detection. "Stealth systems at maximum," First Officer Reeves reported. "They haven't spotted us yet." Hayes nodded. "Deploy the fighters. Keep them in stealth mode until my signal." 6 smaller craft detached from the Nighthawk, spreading out to surround the alien ship. Each fighter was armed with weapons that could disable the Vrax vessel without destroying it. "Life sign readings?" Hayes asked. "Lieutenant Commander." Nelson studied his screen. 38 human signatures grouped together on the lower deck, 12 Vrax life forms throughout the ship. Any signs of injury to the children? Negative, Captain. All vital signs appear normal. Hayes allowed herself a small sigh of relief. Then she straightened in her chair. Open a channel to the Vrax ship. Let's introduce ourselves. On the Vrax vessel, alarms suddenly blared. The captain rushed to the bridge as the view screen showed 6 small craft appearing out of nowhere surrounding his ship. Impossible, he hissed. Where did they come from? Before anyone could answer, a much larger ship decloaked directly in their path. It was enormous, dwarfing their own vessel. The communication system activated, and a human face appeared on screen. Vrax vessel, this is Captain Laurel Hayes of Earth. You have taken our children. Return them immediately, or we will demonstrate capabilities your consortium has never witnessed. The Vrax captain stared in shock. The ship design was like nothing he had seen before, certainly not from a species that supposedly barely had space travel. Primitive humans. He responded, trying to sound confident. Your vessels are impressive but outmatched. We operate under Tellurian scientific privilege. Your interference violates galactic law. Hayes smiled coldly. Check your sensors again, and understand that what you're seeing is just the advance team. In the specimen chamber, the children heard the alarms. The blue lights turned red, and the humming of the ship's engines changed pitch. What's happening? Beth asked, clutching Olivia's hand. Before anyone could answer, the ship shuddered. The lights flickered and the artificial gravity briefly failed, causing everyone to float for a few seconds before settling back to the floor. Zach felt his heart race with hope. Someone's here, he said. I told you they would come. Mrs. Caldwell gathered the children close. If help has arrived, we need to be ready. Everyone stay together. Outside the Vrax ship, the human fighters had fired precisely targeted energy pulses that disabled the alien vessel's engines and weapons without causing catastrophic damage. The Vrax ship drifted powerless, surrounded by Earth vessels that, according to all galactic knowledge, should not exist. On the Nighthawk's bridge, Hayes received confirmation of the successful strike. Their weapons and engines are offline, Nelson reported. Minimal damage to the hull. Life support systems remain functional. Excellent work, Hayes said. Prepare the boarding teams. Commander Patterson, you have tactical command of the rescue operation. Rick Patterson stood with his team in the Nighthawk's launch bay. 20 men and women in black combat suits checked their equipment. Their weapons were set to stun. This was a rescue mission, not a slaughter. Our priority is the children, Patterson reminded them. We go in fast and quiet. The Vrax are not known as fighters, but don't take any chances. The team boarded 3 assault shuttles. Unlike the bulky space shuttles shown to the public, these were sleek craft designed for boarding operations. They launched from the Nighthawk and moved swiftly toward the disabled Vrax ship. Patterson's voice came through their helmet comms. Remember, minimal force, but make sure they understand what happens when someone takes human children. The assault. Shuttles attached to the Vrax hull using magnetic clamps. Special cutting tools sliced through the alien metal like butter, creating entry points for the rescue teams. Inside the specimen chamber, Zach felt another shudder run through the ship. Then came a sound of metal cutting through metal. They're here, he whispered to Olivia and Kyle. They're coming for us. Vika Lara rushed into the chamber, her movements no longer smooth but jerky with panic. How? She demanded through the translator. How did your kind find us? How did they build such ships? Zach stood tall, facing the alien scientist. You took the wrong children. In the corridors of the Vrax ship, Patterson's team moved with practiced efficiency. Their helmet displays showed the location of the human life signs, and they headed directly for the lower deck. 2 Vrax appeared around a corner and froze at the sight of the armed humans. Patterson raised his weapon. Move aside, he ordered. When the aliens hesitated, he fired a warning shot that hit the wall beside them. The Vrax quickly stepped back, their hands raised in a universal gesture of surrender. As the team approached the specimen chamber, Patterson's comm unit picked up voices inside. Children's voices. He signaled his team to prepare for entry. Thur. Door to the chamber slid open, and Patterson stepped through, weapon ready. What he saw made him smile behind his helmet visor. The children had formed a defensive circle, with the smallest ones in the center. Zach, Olivia, and several others stood at the front, holding makeshift weapons fashioned from parts of their beds. Even their teacher had positioned herself to protect her students. "Took you long enough," Zach said with a grin when he saw the Earth soldiers. Patterson removed his helmet. "Sorry about that. Traffic was terrible." The children cheered as Commander Patterson and his team entered the room. Mrs. Caldwell counted her students, making sure all were present before approaching the soldiers. "All 37 children are here," she reported. "No serious injuries, though we haven't had proper food or rest." Patterson nodded. "We'll get you all home soon. Right now we need to move quickly. Can everyone walk?" The children nodded. Even the youngest one stood tall, eager to leave the alien ship. "Then let's go," Patterson said. "Form a line 2 by 2, stay close and follow my team." As they prepared to leave, V. Kalara stepped forward, her translator device still in hand. "This violates all protocols," the floating words read. "These specimens are claimed under scientific research rights." Patterson turned to the alien scientist, his face hard. "They are not specimens. They are our children." He nodded to one of his team members, who stepped forward and placed a small device on V. Kalara's translator. It sparked briefly, then went dark. "Their research data has been wiped," the soldier reported. "All records of the children are gone." Patterson turned back to the children. "Time to go home." They moved through the corridors of the Vrax ship, in an orderly line. The soldiers led the way with more guards at the rear. Whenever a Vrax appeared, they quickly moved aside, watching in shock as the supposedly primitive humans displayed military discipline that rivaled any in the galaxy. On the bridge of the Vrax ship, Captain Hayes confronted the Vrax commander. Unlike the scientists, the commander had more experience with other species. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Earth has no such technology. The Tellurians report you can barely reach your own moon." Hayes smiled. "The Tellurians see what we want them to see, as do all the other species who think Earth is just a backwater world of little importance." The Vrax commander studied her uniform, noting the lack of insignia or markings. "You have hidden your true capabilities from the galactic community. Why?" "We prefer to observe before revealing our hand," Hayes replied. "Unfortunately for you, taking our children forced our hand." She leaned closer. "Your consortium will deliver this message to every species in the galaxy. Earth's children are off limits." The Vrax commander's large eyes blinked rapidly. "The galactic powers will learn of your deception." "No," Hayes said firmly. "They won't. Because as far as anyone will know, you lost your specimens in a tragic accident." On cue, controlled explosions rippled through the research sections of the Vrax ship. Not enough to endanger lives, but enough to destroy all evidence of the advanced human technology used in the rescue. "You're free to tell whatever story you wish," Hayes continued. "But remember this. We know where all your research facilities are. We know your trade routes. And now you know what happens when you cross humanity." The Vrax commander lowered his head in a gesture of defeat. "The children will be returned. No further specimens will be taken from Earth." "A wise decision," Hayes said. In the launch bay, the children boarded the assault shuttles. Zach, Olivia, and Kyle found themselves in the lead shuttle with Commander Patterson. Through the viewport, they could see the massive shape of the Nighthawk waiting for them. "Is that really an Earth ship?" Zach asked, his eyes wide. Patterson nodded. "One of several. Though you're not supposed to know about them yet." "Why keep them secret?" Kyle wanted to know. "Because sometimes," Patterson explained, "it's better if people underestimate you. The galaxy thinks humans are new to space travel, barely able to reach our own moon. That gives us time to prepare, to build our strength." The shuttle docked with the Nighthawk, and the children filed out into a bright, clean corridor. Medical staff waited to check each child, providing food, water, and comfortable clothes. Captain Hayes came to meet them, her face softening as she saw the children safe aboard her ship. Welcome aboard the Nighthawk, she said. You've all been very brave. Mrs. Caldwell stepped forward. Thank you for finding us. But how did you track us across space? Hayes glanced at Patterson, who nodded. Those school ID cards you wear, she explained. They're more than they appear to be. After first contact 15 years ago, we began preparing for situations like this. Zach looked down at his card, no longer blinking now that they were rescued. So this was a tracker? And a vital signs monitor, Hayes confirmed. Every child on Earth has one, just in case. Olivia frowned. Does this mean aliens have visited Earth before? We made contact with several species 15 years ago, Hayes said. Most were peaceful. The Tellurians offered us basic space technology and welcomed us to the galactic community. But we suspected not all aliens would be so friendly. So you built secret ships, Zach said. Hayes nodded. And trained crews to fly them, all while pretending to be far less advanced than we really are. Like playing possum, Kyle said. Exactly, Hayes smiled. Now, you all need rest. We're heading back to Earth. You'll be home soon. As the children were led away to quarters prepared for them, Hayes returned to the bridge. The Nighthawk had already begun moving away from the disabled Vrax vessel. Set course for Earth, she ordered. Maximum speed. First Officer Reeves looked up from her station. The Vrax will report this encounter to their consortium. Let them, Hayes replied. The story will change with each telling. Some will say we destroyed an entire Vrax fleet. Others will claim Earth made a deal with the elder races. By the time the truth is sorted out, we'll be ready to reveal ourselves to the galaxy on our own terms. The Nighthawk jumped to FTL speed, disappearing from the Vrax sensors. Behind them, the alien ship drifted, its crew shaken by the encounter with a species they had severely underestimated. In the children's quarters, Zach looked out a viewport at the streaking stars. Earth was still far away, but they were going home, and they were going home with a secret, the knowledge that humanity was far more powerful than the galaxy knew. Do you think they'll let us remember all this? Olivia asked, joining him at the viewport. I don't know, Zach admitted. But I hope so. People should know we're not alone out here, and that we can protect ourselves. Admiral Rogers was waiting when the Nighthawk returned to Earth 3 days later. As the children were reunited with their frantic parents, she met with Captain Hayes in private. Mission accomplished, Hayes reported. All children recovered safely. The Vrax have been warned. Rogers nodded. And our secret? Still safe for now, though the children know. They'll be debriefed, Rogers said. The official story is already in place. A special educational retreat, last-minute invitations, poor communication. Hayes looked out the window at the families below. Will they believe it? Most will, Rogers replied. Those who don't will keep the secret, because now they know what Earth is capable of when its children are threatened. 1 month had passed since the children of Pinewood Elementary returned home. To the world, they had been on a special educational retreat, a last-minute opportunity that explained their sudden absence. Most parents accepted this story, relieved, simply to have their children back safe and sound. But the children knew the truth. They remembered the Vrax ship, the strange aliens, and the rescue by Earth's secret fleet. Each child had been asked to keep this knowledge private, even from their families. It's for everyone's safety, Mrs. Caldwell had explained during their debriefing. The world isn't ready to know how advanced we really are or how dangerous the galaxy can be. For Zach Miller, keeping such a big secret was hard. He wanted to tell his parents everything, to explain why he sometimes woke up at night thinking about the blue lights and the humming sound. But he understood why it had to stay quiet. Earth needed time to prepare. Today, Zach, Olivia, and Kyle had been called to a special meeting. A black car with government plates picked them up from school and drove them to a tall office building downtown. Their parents had been told it was part of a gifted student program, another story to hide the truth. The elevator took them to the top floor, where Admiral Rogers waited in a conference room with large windows overlooking the city. Captain Hayes stood beside her, now wearing a business suit instead of her uniform. "Thank you for coming," Rogers said as the children sat down. "How are you all adjusting?" "Fine," Zach said. "The nightmares are less frequent now." Olivia nodded in agreement. "It helps to know we weren't crazy, that it really happened. And that we're not helpless," Kyle added. "Earth can protect itself." Rogers smiled. "That's actually why we asked you here today. You three showed exceptional leadership during your captivity. The qualities you displayed are exactly what Earth needs for the future." Hayes stepped forward, placing 3 folders on the table. "We're offering you a chance to join a special program, a path that could eventually lead to serving on ships like the Nighthawk." Zach's eyes widened. "Really? But we're just kids." "For now," Rogers agreed. "The program begins with special classes after school. Science, physics, languages, tactics. As you get older, the training becomes more specific. By the time you finish college, you'll be ready for your first assignment." Olivia opened her folder, scanning the details inside. "Does this mean there are other kids like us? Kids who know the truth?" Hayes nodded. "Across the world. Some who've had encounters like yours, others who showed promise and were carefully selected." "What about the other kids from our class?" Kyle asked. "They've been offered counseling and support," Rogers explained. "But not everyone is suited for this path. You three stood out." Zach thought about it. He remembered how he had felt on the alien ship, scared but determined to protect his friends. And later, aboard the Nighthawk, the sense of wonder at what humans had built in secret. "I want to join," he said firmly. Olivia and Kyle quickly agreed. "Excellent," Rogers said. "Your training begins next week." Across the galaxy, word spread among the spacefaring species. Rumors about Earth and its capabilities grew with each telling. Some said humans had destroyed an entire Vrax fleet. Others claimed Earth had made a secret deal with the mysterious elder races. The truth was lost in the whispers, which was exactly what Earth's leaders wanted. In a meeting hall on the Tellurian homeworld, representatives from major galactic powers gathered to discuss the incident. The humans should not have ships capable of faster-than-light travel, one delegate insisted. The technology we provided was basic at best. Yet they rescued their young from a Vrax collector, another pointed out. The evidence suggests they have advanced far beyond our expectations. The Tellurian Prime, oldest and wisest of their kind, raised a hand for silence. "Perhaps we underestimated them," she said. "Earth was not a barren world when we arrived. It had history, wars, innovation. We assumed they would develop like other young species, slowly and under guidance." "What do you suggest?" asked a representative from the trading guilds. "Caution," the Prime replied, "and respect. Any species that will cross the stars to recover its young is not one to be trifled with." 6 months after the rescue, Earth's public space program announced a new mission to Mars, using the clunky rockets and limited technology that the world believed represented humanity's best efforts. Meanwhile, deep beneath the Colorado mountains, construction continued on 3 new ships for the Shadow Fleet. In Oak Ridge, life had returned to normal at Pinewood Elementary. Mrs. Caldwell's science club met every Tuesday and Thursday, though it now had many more members. The curriculum had subtly changed, with more focus on astronomy, physics, and alien biology, disguised as creative science fiction projects. Zach, Olivia, and Kyle attended their special training 3 times a week. They learned about alien species, starship operations, and the true history of Earth's first contact. Other children joined them, from different schools and even different countries, all connected by knowledge of what waited beyond Earth's atmosphere. On a cool autumn evening, the 3 friends sat on the hill behind Zach's house looking up at the stars. "Do you ever wonder if they're watching us?" Olivia asked. "The Vrax or the Tellurians or any of the others?" "Probably," Kyle said. "I would, if I were them." Zach nodded. "Admiral Rogers says that's why we keep building ships. Not because we want to fight, but because we need to be ready." Ready for what? Olivia asked. For whatever comes next, Zach replied. The galaxy is huge. There are good aliens out there and bad ones too. We need to be strong enough to stand with the good ones and face the bad ones. A light streaked across the sky, just a normal meteor, but it reminded them of the Nighthawk moving silently through space. I can't wait to be up there, Kyle said. We will be, Zach assured him. Sooner than anyone thinks. At Artemis Base, Admiral Rogers reviewed the latest intelligence. The Vraks had withdrawn their collection ships from Earth's sector. The Tellurians had sent diplomatic inquiries, carefully worded to avoid admitting they knew about the rescue. Other species had increased their observation of Earth, but none had made hostile moves. Captain Hayes entered with fresh reports. The new ships will be ready ahead of schedule, and recruitment for the cadet program is up 30%. Rogers nodded with satisfaction. The Vraks did us a favor in a way. They forced us to reveal some of our capabilities, but they also reminded us why we need to be prepared. And the children? Hayes asked. They'll be the next generation of our fleet, Rogers said. They understand what we're facing because they've seen it firsthand. She looked at the star map displayed on the wall, countless worlds spinning in the vast darkness. They took our children, Rogers said quietly, and in doing so, they created the very officers who will one day ensure it never happens again. Somewhere in that darkness, other species were watching, wondering about the quiet planet that had suddenly revealed its teeth. Earth continued its slow public space program while beneath the surface the Shadow Fleet grew stronger, ready for whatever came next from the stars.